Opening thoughts. Who is this person, and what are her qualifications for creating this series? Is usually the question that pops into my mind when I listen to programs that seem to promise something. I thought you might feel the same way, so with that in mind, I'd like to introduce myself to you. My name is Joy Weston, and I am just an ordinary woman with ordinary thoughts and ordinary gifts who for years has done a lot of pretty ordinary things, like growing up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, going to school, falling in and out of love about a dozen times, and eventually getting married and having a couple of what I consider fabulous kids. I've worked at various creative careers, traveled a lot, and forever seem to be in the process of learning another one of life's lessons. I'm just an ordinary woman who has discovered the secret of how to have an extraordinary life, who now wants to share that secret with you. When I stopped to analyze what had prompted me to create my own personal formula for the art of living well, I realized that much of my motivation for change was fueled by my desire to finally rid myself of my insecurities and to unravel the various lies I had turned into my self-destructive truths. The biggest one being that to have an extraordinary life, you needed to be extraordinary. You needed to be bigger, better, with more money, better credentials, a better body, and a more beautiful face. Simply put, a better, more improved version of who you are. I truly believed that if you could have all, or at least most of these bases covered, how could you not have a fabulous life? Well, apparently there must be lots of other reasons not to have a fabulous life, or all the beautiful, rich, and famous people wouldn't be spending so much time and money with their doctors and therapists, or finding comfort in Prozac, pizza, and pints of Häagen-Dazs ice cream. You know, if the process of getting older has taught me anything, it's that life can be difficult and dreams can be fragile. Trying to hold on during this roller coaster ride called life was sometimes more than I thought I could even handle. I constantly felt as if I needed to find different ways to stay strong and mentally fit just so I could stay on the course of who I was and where I wanted to be. This realization came to me long before I knew how or what to do about it. But what I did inherently know was that there was an easier and more joyful way to live life, and that if I could just find the answers, I could live that kind of life as well. During all the years that I was on my search and seize mission for tips of how I could possibly improve my life, I was also slowly changing the way I'd been thinking. One of the biggest influences in my transformation was out of a book that I read about a very special man called Anwar Sadat. Mr. Sadat was a Middle Eastern leader, actually the president of Egypt, whose life work it was to change the prejudices of the world. He believed that if it was possible for just one other ordinary person to have an extraordinary life, then anyone could have one. All you have to do is to simply study the person's way of thinking and acting, and then adapt their ways to fit into your way of life. Act as if until these traits become a part of you. He believed that there are no extraordinary people, just ordinary people who are extraordinary thinkers. So, are you ready for the number one secret I have learned of how an ordinary woman can have an extraordinary life? It's the same way an extraordinary woman can have a pretty ordinary life. It all comes down to perception. Everything begins and ends with a thought. How you choose to think, speak, act, and react to the various events in your life, and whether or not you believe you deserve to have an extraordinary life, is how you create either heaven or hell on earth. How an ordinary woman can have an extraordinary life, the formula for the art of living well. is my personal collection of stories and tips that I've been gathering over the years. Stories with a message that through their inspiration and wisdom gently remind you that creating an extraordinary life is always created first in your mind with a thought. Something we all intuitively know, but too often tend to forget. These are true stories, moments of epiphany that actually happened to either me or one of my friends. Women who aren't superstars or celebrities, or even worthy topics for the tabloids. Just ordinary women who are living examples of how having an extraordinary life has nothing to do with wealth, beauty, or your occupation. Just ordinary women who have learned that having an extraordinary life is all about your frame of mind. These stories are designed to give you the inspiration, encouragement, and tools necessary for transforming a potentially negative problem into a positive solution. Once you look up the issue that you are interested in and listen to the story, you'll be able to understand and utilize the power you have over most situations. The messages in these stories are about being able to change a negative thought or action into a positive one almost as it's happening. It's about having and using the tools that will help you make sure that nothing will ever really rock your boat or destroy your inherent happiness for very long. Stories that help you understand that having an extraordinary life isn't about what you have or what you've done, but how you choose to think, speak, act, and believe about all those various circumstances in your life. It's dedicated to women of all ages who within any normal week of living their ordinary lives have dishes to wash, beds to make, dinners to cook, jobs to go to, as well as endless responsibilities and decisions that have to be made. Women who know that every day is up for grabs and every moment presents itself with another opportunity to check in and see who you are, what you want, and what you're doing about it. Women who have learned that having an extraordinary life, or not, is really all about your attitude. These cherished stories have helped to mold and change my life forever in the very best of ways, as well as for the women who I've shared them with. And do you know what happened to the ordinary woman who learned how to have an extraordinary life? She lived happily ever after. With all my heart, I hope this program does the same for you. Enjoy!